Roy Sonne. Welcome to the School of Violin Artistry. In this video, we're going to explore some ways we can work to develop speed in the Rigaudon from Sicilian and Rigaudon by Chrysler. We're going to talk about keeping the fingers close to the string and about small motions. We'll go through some routines to establish that. Then I'll show you some routines for practicing in groups and practicing in rhythms. We'll discuss how to use the metronome to build up speed. Then I'd like to show you some other strategies which can be very useful, practicing without the bow and using mental imaging. Let's start by putting the four fingers in place on the A string using the notes of the first passage. The hand stays stable. The fingers drop right down on their notes without any help from the arm or the hand. Now let's go down the scale. The lifting motion of the fingers coming down the scale is critical. It needs to be small so that each finger is ready to return to its note. And it needs to be clear so the notes are cleanly articulated. Now, up and down the scale. Now let's add the open A, so that we're exercising the first finger motion also. Now, let's see if we can make the motion even smaller. Now, let's try it with separate bows. Slower. And faster. If the fingers are doing their job, articulating the notes cleanly and evenly, with no hammering, then coordination shouldn't be a problem. The bow follows right along with the fingers, not the other way around. Now, let's play the first few measures of the piece with the same approach. Our objective is to make the smallest possible movements and to have the notes speak clearly. Measure 7 now. We need to put the second finger on both strings, like this. So the second finger has become the anchor finger. Now, let's go a little faster and see if we can keep the same small motions with economy of motion. Now, let's practice in rhythms. The reverse rhythm. having trouble with the reverse rhythm, stick with it. This is such an important learning tool. You need to be able to do it. If you need to slow down and practice the passage with this pattern, with this reverse rhythm 10 times in a row, it'll be worth it. So, we've done the passage with the two rhythms, the basic rhythm and the reverse rhythm. Now we'll go back and try the real thing. So, is it better? Is it easier? Does it feel different? Most people will notice some improvement after even a couple of minutes of this practice. Of course, if you want it to stick, then you have to follow up and reinforce it and build upon it. Now, let's try something else. We'll practice the piece in groups of 4. Take lots of time between the groups, but the notes within each group should be fast. Think of each group as a unit. Each group is a musical word. Mississippi, Mississippi, Mississippi. Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania, Mississippi. Now, let's change the grouping. I'm going to start with the second note of each group. Now, starting on the second note. If you practice it with those two groupings, that should be enough. But if you want to carry this even further, then you can start with the third note. Now here's the third note. And now starting with the fourth note. Now, let's check back again with the real thing. How is it now? Is it better? Is it easier? Or is it the same? You can try it in groups of 8. The important thing is to stop and relax after each group and get ready for what comes next. Ready. Get ready. Now, let's work up speed with the metronome. It's important to find a good starting tempo, a tempo that you can play in comfortably and accurately with no hesitation and no glitches. A lot of people pick a starting tempo that's too fast. So, they're already playing sloppily in their starting tempo. Then they speed it up, and it gets worse. So pick a tempo that you can handle 100%. I think a good starting tempo would be 100 to the 8th note. Probably this is slower than what you were doing, and it may upset the apple cart. It may seem to make things worse. If that happens, it's a good sign. You've hit upon something that's really going to make a difference. Stick with it until it's comfortable and really solid. Now, you can start speeding up the tempo, 3 or 4 notches at a time. Here's 112. $132. And 160. Now, we'll divide 160 in 2 for a quarter note pulse of 80. Now 92. If it starts falling apart, then that's your limit for the day. Mark it in your music. The next day, maybe you'll be able to go 1 notch faster. But the next day, you need to start back at the beginning, 100 to the 8th note. Now, let's move it even faster. Here's 104 to the quarter. Then 112. And 120. That's a good final tempo, although you can practice it even faster so that you have something in reserve. Here's 144. That's definitely too fast, but it's good to know that you can do it. You never want to be playing as fast as you possibly can play. You never want to feel that if it goes any faster, it's going to fall apart. Remember, if you're feeling that way, the audience is also feeling that way. So, we've gotten up to 120. Here it is again. And now the final step is to play it without the metronome. There are some other practice strategies that might be helpful. Try playing it without the bow. Ask yourself if all the notes were present. Were all the notes there? Did you feel them in your fingers? If you didn't feel it, try it again. Light fingers, no hammering, but with clarity. You'll know when you got all the notes. Then try the same thing with the bow. might be very surprised at what this does for you. Another strategy, mental imaging. This is an extension of what we just did. Without the instrument, go through the motions of playing the passage. Was it all there? Not sure. Try it again. After a couple of tries, you'll know when all the notes were there. Then pick up the violin and play it the same way. You might be very surprised indeed. So, recapping. We started with the routine to establish the basic finger action. Then we practiced in groups. Then we practiced in rhythms. We established a routine for practicing without the metronome. We tried it without the bow. We tried mental imaging. Good luck. Happy practicing. Please leave a question or a comment.